The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Well, good morning, everybody. Michael Volkov here, and I'm here with Jag Lamba from Certa. Jag, good morning, and thanks for joining us today.
Good morning.
Everybody, we're here for a joint webinar here with Certa to talk about leveraging technology and mitigating third-party risks. Just a few housekeeping items before we get started. Number one, we will, if you want a copy of the slides, I did not have time to set up the slides on our usual, we're using Google Slides today. And I didn't have a chance to do that. So email us afterwards and we'll send you a set of the slides. So if you email me at mvolkov@volkovlaw.com, then and just request this set of slides, we'll send those to you. Okay, I want to make sure, and I apologize for this, hold on. I want to make sure that you guys can see the screen and make sure if there are any technical problems, please let me know in terms of that. And Jag, I'm assuming you can see it okay too.
Yeah, I can see it fine.
Okay. Well, we're going to hear two handsome people. Jag, obviously, you guys know what I look like, but Jag is joining us, and he's the head of Certa. We've been working with Certa for the last year at Volkov Law. And Jag, if you want to take a moment, just introduce yourself and tell people a little bit about your background. Most of the people already know me from sort of the webinar series we run.
Happy to. I'm Jag. I'm the founder and CEO of Certa. I started my career as an engineer and then, went to business school and joined McKinsey as a consultant, and then had a short stint in private equity, but then really wanted to get back to my roots as an engineer. And this is a problem that I really wanted to solve. I saw this problem repeatedly over my career, which is so hard for companies to work with each other. There are all these sort of compliance issues, risk issues, etc. So that's what led to Certa.
Well, that's fantastic. Well, thanks. We're going to see part of Certa in the platform. And before we do that, just have like a discussion if we can. So we're going to talk about, obviously, third-party risk management and the government expectations, why automation, and in full disclosure here, Jag, I've been pushing automation as a solution. Years ago when I used to see folks using emails and SharePoint and things like that to try to run a third-party due diligence system, it just begged for automation. So, and then we're going to talk to then we're going to turn it over to Jag a little bit at that point and talk about AI and understanding Gen AI. And we have an expert here on that, which is fantastic. And then how you integrate this and leverage all of the technology that we're going to talk about into your third-party risk management program. And we'll talk about the needs and uses, and we'll have time, obviously, for questions as we're going along. So let's just talk for a minute about the DOJ standards for third-party risk. We just had, folks, the new evaluation of corporate compliance programs put out by DOJ with certain changes. One of which, obviously, which we'll talk about in a little bit, is risks of AI in general. What we're talking about here with AI is using it as a tool and using it in your third-party risk management system and how that can be helpful. But DOJ is clearly focused on AI data and risks and using that technology in your third-party risk management system. So some of the basics that we see, and we work with a lot of companies, as you all know, to implement third-party risk solutions and automated solutions. And so Jag and I, for example, would work together with a company his team with my team to try to implement something like that. So we see a lot of different things. And I would say that some of these suggestions are really important in terms of integrating into your procurement function and your vendor management program, whatever it is, and getting access to your database, your vendor master database. And it's important to integrate this program into that or with that. But that's only half of sometimes that's, the other part about it, suppliers and vendors, is you also got to look on the other side of your distribution chain and making sure you have a partner there on that side to make sure that you're getting your third-party agents, third-party distributors. The due diligence, obviously, these are principles we've talked about for years. Mitigation steps, obviously, we're all familiar with those in terms of certification provisions, documentation of performance, and invoice review. And then we get to, I think, one of the hotter issues these days is post-onboarding monitoring. And if anything, what came out from the recent changes, I think the headline for the due diligence area is the importance of monitoring afterwards, that in terms of managing your vendor, not just at the due diligence phase, but continuing afterwards for the life cycle of the vendor relationship. So that, I think, DOJ expects to see things, and we have clients now who are basically working with us to develop data analytics and testing and monitoring programs to give you better access, better identification of anomalies and things like that. I'm going to turn it over in 1 second to a little bit to Jag. But Jag, before we get into automation, I just wanted to, what are some of the trends and, struggles, I would say, or pain points that you're seeing out in the marketplace with regard to third-party risk these days?
So, I mean, this chart is a good summary of that. Just the sheer number of regulations. Obviously, most people, I'm guessing, are very familiar with, FCPA and AML, but new regulations like the UFLPA and all the other forced labor regulations, plus all the ESG regulations coming in Europe, for global firms. Just the plethora of regulations is just unprecedented, right?
Right.
I mean, the stakes have never been higher, in terms of information security, privacy, overall resilience of your infrastructure. So much of it now depends on your third parties. And of course, the sheer number of third parties, the growth in number of third parties, the dependence on third parties have been growing. So, for folks who are responsible for managing them, with all the regulations and risks and just the growth in sheer number of third parties, it's just been very hard to keep up. So the gap, this is the productivity gap that's shown here, just seems to be growing. And many of our clients aren't able to keep up.
Right. But, let me back up for a second here in terms of regulations. And I think another way of putting that from my perspective, Jag, is to say, look, the risks are multiplying. And right now, in terms of, we know the traditional FCPA risks and why third parties became so important years ago, but now we have sanctions risks. And I always encourage people, and you're going to hear me as a broken record, some of you today, in the sense of we have to get into our sanctions risks for third parties. And that raises real issues, not just for distributors and agents who may end up, let's say, sending goods to Iran and diverting things to Russia that you may not have suspected. But the nature of risks also with forced labor and the Forced Labor Prevention Act this year, Customs has really focused on enforcement. We've had clients who've had shipments from China, let's say stopped at the LA harbor. And then you got to litigate whether or not there's forced labor involved in the products.
Yeah.
And Jag, I think you also raised a really important point about what's going on in Europe. In some respects, we're seeing things moving beyond where the U.S. is obviously on data privacy.
Yeah.
But now we're getting into, we had the German Due Diligence Act, and now we have the Corporate Sustainability Directive. And, throw that on top of, our existing risks. But I want to emphasize sanctions, and particularly your supply chain in sanctions. Because now we're seeing greater focus on where you're sourcing your materials from. And that means not only getting all your third parties that you're directly in privity with, but Jag, it means, trying to leverage your position to understand where your third parties are sourcing materials from. And it gets further down into the supply chain. So the way I would look at this is not only are the number of third parties multiplying, but the responsibility and your sort of liability risk is increasing significantly over your supply chain, so that the number of third parties you may be interested in is going to go higher based upon that. Plus, once you throw in reputational risk, folks, then, we can have all the regulations in the world. We can comply with every regulation we can find. But the issue to me then is reputational risk. And that, I think, is where there's greater and greater demand, Jag, in terms of knowing your third parties and making sure they're consistent with your culture, and that there's somebody you want to work with. And we can also throw into their cybersecurity and third-party risk there. And I'm seeing much more participation in the third-party process and risk evaluation with IT, your chief information security officer, with a seat at the table. And they want to know about the third parties from a technical perspective. Are they encrypted or not before you go into bringing them on board. So, to me, it's like regulations and risks are multiplying just, exponentially in the last few years. Is that consistent with what you see with your clients too, Jag?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we keep jumping from one discussion about, European CSDDD and CSRD, which are, sort of due diligence and supply chain regulations related to sustainability. And then we jump to the German Supply Chain Act, the Norwegian Supply Chain Act, of course, UFLPA.
Right.
And then we switch to sort of trade sanctions. So just the amount of regulation and the sort of the variety of discussions around third-party regulations is incredible. Michael, I just want to just a quick thing. I don't see you on the camera. I don't know if that's if
Oh
it's
yeah,
only
you
me.
put my webcam on. Let me do that.
Yeah.
There we go. Sorry about that. Okay.
No.
You should.
Yeah, there you are. Great.
Okay. Oh, no, thanks, Jag. I appreciate that.
No, of course.
No, I have a technical expert here. So regulations, we talked about this for third parties. This is a great slide that Certa put together, everybody. And I'm going to, and if you want to get a headache, you just try to read all of the entries and think, what are we doing for this entry? What are we doing for this risk? I'm not trying to scare you, and that's not my MO. This is just, these are, to me, Jag, are things that senior management and the board need to know in terms of what are our third-party risks and exposures.
Yeah.
In terms of how difficult this is getting. And just to, and I always love the Hall of Fame. We had Volkswagen, the Hall of Fame with regard to forced labor, anti-bribery, Gunver, the SAP. But of course, we just had Raytheon, which came out, and we've been writing about it on our blog. And then we had TD Bank, which was $3 billion for AML. I just noticed that DOJ seems to be using B's instead of M's for the amount of money. But this gives you I think, Jag, this gives you perspective on just the variety of risks that we're facing these days.
They're being enforced. Yeah, the enforcement is real.
Yeah, exactly. So let me, I'm going to change presenters here to go to Jag in a second. And let me do that right now. And hold on one second. And then we can start to talk about it. But these are some really great slides. And let me see, did you get that?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay.
It should be able to start sharing soon. Yeah, perfect.
Okay, and let us know if you can't see it, folks. I know we have a number of people on. But Jag, and I like this slide because really it gives me a way to organize what's going on out there in terms of in the marketplace and bringing people together across the organization to work on third-party risk management. And the first thing that you mentioned there is silos. And that to me is what DOJ, I think, is initially saying is, look, we expect access to data for compliance across the organization, and we expect procurement to work with you, and that you should operationalize your program through partnerships. But I noticed that just to me is definitely a pain point, but it's starting to break down a lot, I think, particularly with all these new regulations coming into effect.
I think the challenge is that the way a lot of these third-party programs have come together is through different solutions for each sort of risk domain. Right? So different solutions for compliance, different solutions for infosec, different solutions for all the sort of the supply chain risk, the resilience risk, the geopolitical risk, etc. Right? The end-tier risk, and that's what sort of that's why one of the reasons why it's been hard to close the productivity gap. So the first one is just the different point solutions. The second is a lot of people a lot of sort of companies we talk to try to get make do with procurement tools. And procurement tools think of compliance and risk as an afterthought, yeah, as a sideshow. And then with just the amount of change, we just saw the new regulations, sort of the emerging risks, and also your programs probably and policies are evolving. The legacy third-party risk management systems just aren't able to keep up. They're not agile enough. And that's what's basically causing a lot of the sort of the pain, in closing that productivity gap that we mentioned a few slides ago.
Yeah, but also, Jag, with regard to the procurement, function, what I've found is, usually the company or the compliance sits down to negotiate with procurement to get questions into their questionnaire or their onboarding process. And what I'm seeing most effectively is when procurement actually owns the automated tool in a sense, they integrate it into their onboarding process. So for example, if you were using Certa's platform, you would then integrate it. And I'm assuming there is, and I know I'm going to venture into something I probably shouldn't, but API or ways to connect the automated tool into whatever the procurement onboarding process is. And do we run into technical problems there?
No. I think the the technologies, I think, come to a stage where it's technology, like, whenever clients use Certa, of course, you always integrate with your ERP system, your procurement system, right?
Right.
So Certa kind of, manages the life cycle, if you will, of all third parties across all risk domains. And then you integrate with the right system on the back end.
Okay.
And the integration's never the challenge, right? The challenge usually is in change management. It introduces so much change in the company, and that's basically where a lot of the sort of the risk comes from. And then you also find out, certain processes need to be optimized, right? When you start to automate them, because all that becomes visible with the new technology. So those are the sort of the much like the sort of the much bigger challenges than actually integration challenges now, Michael.
Yeah. But also you have in here, and I want to mention this too as well, the procurement tools or whatever supply chain tools only cover suppliers and vendors, and that gets at my point that you got to find the representatives who are dealing with, on the distribution side, dealing with agents, resellers. Those are not, commonly done at the procurement level. And there's some onboarding process that they have. And this is why procurement is an important partner, but so is the business side. And it may be marketing or business development, whoever's responsible for onboarding your third parties on the distribution side. And that, to me, you've hit the nail right on the head on this slide, because that's only half of the equation is the supplier, the vendors and suppliers.
Yeah. The tech companies, most of the regulations or most of the enforcement actions that they faced recently has all been around trade sanctions, right?
Yeah.
So it's all been on the sell side, the distributor side.
Exactly. It's rarely, although they are now getting into supply chain, and they brought a case 2 years ago that I talk about all the time about supply chain. But you're right, for the most part, they're focusing on your third-party distributors and agents who resell and divert into areas that they shouldn't be going with regard to your products.
Yeah.
So okay.
Yeah. So what basically what we're seeing is this, sort of, maybe a preview of generative AI. So just want to maybe go into Michael a quick, what is this technology?
Yeah, let's go to the next slide. You have.
So here's what we're seeing. Just traditional tech is really good at structured data, but compliance is, of course, works mainly with unstructured data. So forms and APIs that are great, right? But when you're looking at contracts, reports, policies, etc., it just becomes it's very it's very different, right?
Yeah.
So this is traditional tech good at sort of computational and BI, but like reasoning and problem solving, is sort of missing in traditional tech. And what traditional tech is good at, like, save it to a database and retrieve it. But generating new content, like negotiating some of these clauses, etc., right? It's really hard at like reasoning from sort of just unstructured data. It's really hard, and that's why it's required so much manual effort so far,
right,
in trying to close the gap, in spite of all the investments in technology, right? I mean, most companies that I know of have invested in a lot of technology, but this we see is the missing piece, unstructured data. And working across third parties is mainly an unstructured data problem, right?
Yeah, that's a great point. And I think what you're saying is there's so much that varies, okay? Questionnaires or contractual provisions, things that have to be generated yourself, not by the automated tool. And what you're suggesting is, and I know where you're going to go with this, is that AI is giving you the ability now to deal with the unstructured data problem.
Exactly. Like generative AI is different, right? Generative AI is a big leap, from even the traditional AI that we've seen that was okay for like some sort of categorization, etc. But generative AI can actually it has reasoning capability, so it can actually understand a document, for example, a contract or a policy when generative AI reads it. It can also create content, which could be, in terms of, it's very helpful in negotiation, and it is proficient. I mean, it's meant to be. It's so proficient with unstructured data that the only way to interact with generative AI is through natural language.
Right.
That's what it understands, right? And it's really smart now. Like it's PhD level smart, So the latest model from OpenAI, which is one of the sort of the main generative AI companies, providers, is now testing at 120 IQ points, which is smarter than most humans, right? It's in the top 30th percentile.
Right. That's way over my pay grade. I don't get up that high, but that's important. And when you call it generative, what is the generative? Is that just simply generating ideas, language? That's why it's called generative AI.
That's how it got the name, because it can actually generate, text, images, now videos. Like, so that's how it got its name, because it's smart enough to generate content. But just because it's just hard to describe everything in one go, like it can also understand text and images and videos, just like it can create it. So a lot of the tests that it performs in the IQ tests are actually, like a lot of text and images that they have to interpret and answer questions about.
Yeah.
So what we have at our disposal is a technology that can generate content, understand content, and is super smart.
So oh, okay, here we are.
I don't know.
Okay, and this was what you were talking about, right?
Yeah, and it can be used, just to go back to your, your comment at the beginning, right? Which is, across the life cycle. So in managing third parties, generative AI is extremely useful across every part of the life cycle, which is, it can interpret a policy document, or even a regulation, and suggest a program, which of course you can edit and refine, but it can get you started, right? One of the biggest points of friction in any program is just gathering data from third parties, like all the questionnaires that we need to deal with in third party. This is what causes, the cycle times to onboard to grow so significantly. This is one of the main points of friction. But what generative AI can do is autofill questionnaires from the supplier's website and the documents that the third party uploads. And so it makes it much, much easier. It can also, of course, review risks. So, given the right guideline, generative AI can be your junior analyst and review initial risks from policies based on what you've sort of asked it to look for. They can look for.
Is that from? Let me ask you just another technical question on that. Is that through like keyword searching, or is there like combinations of words that it looks for? How does the AI get into the risk? There's a whole set of data out there about this third party. How does it pick out what, and how does it assess how much importance to place on that?
Yeah. So and this is this is where this sort of new discipline called prompt engineering has come in. So the prompts are the prompts provide the guidelines. So it's pretty similar to us hiring a human analyst and telling them, read this document, and wherever you see this particular risk. So for example, anything related to data or anything related to like sort of security policy or anything related to sort of their where they're sourcing things from in terms of deforestation, anything
Right.
like that, sustainability, like flag it for me. And and then you can make it more sophisticated. You can say, okay, flag it if they're actually sort of creating a concern that's beyond our company's policies, right? So if it sort of doesn't align with our guidelines for third parties, only then flag it. And then you specify the guidelines in very sort of great detail. And it does a fantastic job, just like a junior analyst would, like a super smart junior analyst would.
Wow.
And it goes beyond keyword search and goes beyond sort of combination of words. If even if it doesn't find any words that you're looking for, because it just understands plain natural language, it will go and reason and say, well, this is exactly what my prompt is asking me to look for.
Wow.
And it does a fantastic job of just finding risks. I mean, I have a quick demo for you, that
Yeah, we'll look at that in a minute, but I know we're going to see some videos that you wanted to show us, but you know, this really just, I mean, if your point earlier about the IQ and of AI, and I guess looking at this chart now with the IQ test results, these are all different AI products, right? In terms of where
yeah,
they are in terms of their IQ.
that's right.
And
That's
you're
right.
saying open AI, which is, I guess, the most prevalent technology now,
It's
is you're
yeah,
telling
it's the
us,
most powerful.
yeah, you're talking about an IQ of 120 and average IQ. So in terms of having an analyst to go through and using the right prompt, you call it prompt technology, you're in a sense building in, pretty good human capabilities in terms of analyzing data.
That's right. I mean, with the correct prompts, it very consistently solves problems that it has never seen before.
Mm.
It's fairly smart. So I mean, you could imagine, right, Michael, how hard it is to hire a person, a super high IQ person, and train them, and ask them to work on this reasonably boring task of reviewing hundreds of pages of documents all the time, day in and day out.
Yeah.
And this makes it much easier. This is you can tweak the prompt, you can review the results, you monitor the results. There's complete referenceability and citations about everything, and that generative AI produces, all the different steps it went through to produce. So it can really significantly, sort of the productivity gap that we had mentioned at the beginning, make a pretty serious impact in that.
Right. Well, that is that. I mean, that is and we'll get to that in a minute when we see the demos you wanted to do. But what I recall, Jag, was like years ago, third-party providers were saying, well, we are going to use AI in our due diligence process, which meant, I think, searching data and making that efficient or more efficient. But what you're talking about with AI is with the unstructured data, you're talking about it being involved in every aspect of the third-party risk program.
That's right. That's right.
Well, you see, that to me is that's the issue right now. That's the cutting edge, right, Jag? I mean, that to me is this is the whole new era we're into, and I don't know that everybody is aware of what you're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. Now you can actually, uh, create a significant impact in every single aspect of the third-party lifecycle.
So
And
when you lay this out in this slide here of the 5 areas, you're talking about using AI in every aspect of this.
That's right.
5.
Yeah. We always had the software to do it, which required more human, input. And with generative AI baked into our software, it requires significantly less human input. And the type of risks that our clients are able to uncover, they were just simply not able to because of the sheer volume of data that they needed to go through in the past.
Yeah. This is so what not only in I guess with number one, you're talking about your workflow and the design. You're talking about questionnaires, which you're going to show us as how AI can generate questionnaires. Then in the risk review process and the monitoring process, you're saying that what you were just talking about, the smart prompts, the smart AI, knowing what to look for, and then analyzing it. And then you're talking about all the way to the report and the insights from the report. In other words,
That's right.
the feedback. To me, this is just the significance of this towards the whole third-party process is incredible. And the fact is that this technology is available now. It just changes the whole dynamic from the old sort of platform. I know that's almost an oxymoron, an old platform, but it changes the dynamics in terms of even analyzing how much resources and time you have to put into managing your platform. And what you're saying to me is there's less human input and less reliance on human steps in the process when you're leveraging this kind of technology.
Exactly. The amount of human input needed can be less now. The human input is more now used in the context of this technology, or with this technology at your disposal for more strategic things like program design, for for setting up interviews, for really figuring out what is material to my company, your company versus others, so it's less in the repetitive stuff and more in the strategic things.
Well, that's a good point. You're saying the savings is really in the administrative side.
That's right.
And not so much in the strategic, and that frees you up for more strategic thinking.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
You can monitor, sort of all the things that, these AI bots are doing on your behalf, and then you can monitor, of course, any humans who are helping the AI bots as well. But the two working together makes it very, very efficient.
Yeah, interesting. That is really. So this slide, the next one, Jag, this was sort of, I guess this is summarizing the point you're just making, right?
Yeah, this is just one example, right? I mean, just one example of when a new regulation comes out, what happens, right? Someone in your organization, typically, the compliance team or the legal team, needs to convert that regulation into a policy, then create some technical requirements and implement it, and then you're sort of good to go, right? Then it sort of gets operationalized typically.
Right.
And what can happen now is basically directly short-circuiting many of the steps and going from cutting down the sort of just directly going from the technical requirements to implementation, or even going from the policy itself, so here sort of to the implementation. So it just becomes much easier. So this is one way by which things become easier. So I'll just give you a quick preview of how this works.
Mm-hmm.
So here's what we'll take is a policy document, in this case a TPRM policy, and we'll just upload it to the system, and here's the file. And what generative AI will do is it'll interpret what the policy is trying to do and create all the, all the questionnaires, all the integrations, all the business rules that you need to implement this policy. So of course, this is an iterative process. It'll create the first version of that for you. You can see exactly why it created, because this chatbot on the bottom right corner will show you exactly why anything was done. You can sort of click into it, see, sort of jump to it, and then you can edit it. And editing also is, via plain natural language, right?
Right.
It'll find other, like, templates and best practices that sort of that we put together here. So this used to take consultants, compliance team, legal teams working together,
Right.
and with the just the sheer number of new regulations coming up, this has become a lot easier. And in going back to one of the previous slides where we said, the old sort of TPRM tools were not agile enough. This is what agility looks like, right? This is, something new
That's,
happened, new policy.
did you play this video yet or no?
Oh, sorry, I played it. Did it not show up?
Oh, I didn't see it. I don't know, but if I may have missed it, but if everybody did, if you didn't see it, let us know, and we can maybe, I don't know if we can play it again.
I think, yeah, it's playing at my end.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
Okay. I just wasn't.
yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Can I
If
don't know if
anybody,
Ahmed can see.
if anybody didn't see it, no, that's great. I just want to
We'll
make.
send it. We can of course send this video, right, for anyone who didn't see
Yeah,
it.
yeah. No. This is terrific though. But to me,
Okay.
to me this, and I've seen the video obviously, but
Yeah.
the, I mean, you are talking about, this is exactly right. You're going to put Volkov law out of business, which is good. I got
You
no problems with that, Jag. But
you will do more strategic things. It would be less routine things.
right.
AI can get the first draft of it, but it still requires, lawyers to take a look at this,
Yeah,
and
I
the
know.
compliance teams to take a look at this.
Yeah, yeah. We're not out of business yet. But I
That's
agree
right.
with you though. It expedites the process. That's the thing.
That's right. That's right.
Exactly. And it gives you something to work with, and the fact that the steps are, in the lower right hand corner is there for you to verify what happened.
Yeah.
I think that's terrific. That's amazing. So,
Yeah.
okay. So should we go to the next one then?
Yeah, for sure. So this is basically the pre-filling questionnaires. This is one of the biggest points of friction in third-party programs, is just collecting data from third parties.
Right.
So we make the life easier for third parties. So again, they don't have to type in, all the answers. So what generative AI will do is it will find the answers, online or from, documents that. So this is generative AI looking for sort of answers from the supplier's website, right, from the third party's website. And it basically creates citations for wherever it finds it. So it basically found it. Now, when the third party uploads any documents, it'll go into those documents and try to find additional answers, right? And here's it's finding it found some additional answers, and it'll again tell you exactly where it found the answer from. So it serves two purposes. One, it gathers data, quickly, and number two, it also provides corroborating evidence in the
Citation.
document.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just so I got this straight, Jag, so in the questionnaire process, when you're onboarding a new third party, what you would do is send them a pre-filled questionnaire. They can verify the information themselves, and then let's say they sign the questionnaire. But it reduces the burden on the third party, is what you're saying, and because it presents them with a lot of the data, and it makes the whole process a lot less painful.
Yeah, that's exactly right, and it reduces the time to onboard. Especially important for
Right.
sales intermediaries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, business
So reducing.
complain often about the third-party process is that they say it slows them up. And what you're saying is this is a way to expedite that process and to get the data, the information together, and everybody double checks the information.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, I have a quick, sort of story,
Yeah.
um, about one of our clients, where one of the clients recently said, "Hey, this third party was approved too quickly. There's something wrong that happened."
I like
And
that. Yeah.
yeah, the person I worked with, they told us the story, and it was wonderful to hear that. Like, no, nothing wrong happened. It worked.
Nothing wrong. We got the risks mitigated. We're fine. But they're used to the process. Look, the other thing I like is that you're saying when you upload, so for example, we'll ask third parties to provide documentation of ownership, who owns the company or whatever, and they'll upload that. And you're saying that the AI, the generative AI, can review that and then update the questionnaire, I guess is what you're saying.
That's right. That's right. Let me see. I was playing the video, but I don't. Can you see this playing now, Michael?
No, I did
The
see
video?
it before though. No, I did.
Oh, okay, you did. Okay, okay, got it.
Yeah, we haven't
Now
gotten
I'm getting.
any questions or comments from anybody saying that they couldn't see it. So I'm assuming everybody.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna maybe keep it in this sort of mode, so that because I'm getting some things that they're unable to see the videos.
Well, maybe
So
let me try. I can try it on my end and see. Let me try
I,
it.
I think this is working. I don't know if this is like the yeah. So
Yeah, no,
this is the
we just got a note that somebody said we can see it. So,
okay, great, great.
but
So I
this
think this
will
is
be when we provide the slides. If you want a set of the slides, everybody,
yeah.
it'll have the videos in it. And I would urge you to take a look at it because it really sort of it's mind opening if you know what I mean. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, sorry about the
I
that
always
it
have
didn't
trouble
work.
with videos and all of
Yeah,
that. But at least it was playing. Well, let's go to
yeah,
the next one. I think we have one more video, right?
yeah. We have one more video. This is basically just sort of sort of the first one, which is directly from a policy to completing a full sort of controls workflow, and
Right.
just and then uh, uh, this is the questionnaire video
Right.
which we just
Oh,
saw,
I
and then
got you. Yeah.
this is the flagging real risks.
Yeah.
So this is AI actually going through the documents submitted by the third party and flagging risks based on your controls framework. So your company's control framework, right? So it's oh, sorry, it looks like it jumped. Let me go back there. So it's basically reading through reports, like in this case, a SOC 2 report,
Right.
that in this example, and it found that there was one high sort of risk item that it found, and it's basically explaining, generative AI is explaining what
Right.
it's found, and it found it looked for 18 control factors, 17 passed, right?
Yeah.
So basically that's what it showed, and this is all done by AI, no humans involved, including all the reports that are created here, right?
Right.
It's
Right.
mind blowing, and then of course humans can review the work, which is much easier than actually reading these lengthy policies and reports that third parties will upload, right? So much easier to just have the AI do the first pass at it.
Yeah. It's terrific. It's amazing. And this is, I mean, Jag, in a lot of ways, I mean, we're just at the beginning of what it can do.
That's right.
I mean, don't you see this? We're going to continue to have leaps and bounds in this area in terms of,
Absolutely.
and so to me, that's really. So did you do the real risks? You showed the real risks one, right? The
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay,
This
good.
is the sort of the real risk one.
Okay.
Now, I mean, there are risks to using AI, right? So maybe we can, I can quickly try to address that.
No, that would be
Yeah,
good because look, DOJ has said, you to the extent you rely on these technologies, you now have to analyze the risk of the
yeah,
technology itself.
yeah.
Okay.
And Michael, it is actually more complex. Evaluating generative AI solutions is more complex than evaluating, traditional technology solutions, right? Because just the sheer number of inputs and outputs are unlimited, right? It's so what one of the first things is efficacy. So it's actually with generative AI, it's pretty easy to create a quick, sexy demo.
Right.
However, to make it production ready can take a long time because just the sheer number of like edge cases that you need to account for is just incredible. So I think my sort of one guidance would be look for real world efficacy statistics from the vendor that you're evaluating.
Right.
Go beyond the sexy demo.
Right.
Right.
Beyond the demo and right. Exactly. You have to look at what the real risks are. What are
The real efficacy is like exactly like how many clients have used it, what is your test data, et cetera,
right.
right? Number two, of course, any decision taken, you will need to explain to an internal or external auditor, why this decision was taken. So you need a complete audit trail.
Right.
So any generative AI technology which is used in compliance needs to have a very detailed audit trail, right, of every single micro decision taken by the AI.
Right.
So this is super important, right? Otherwise, like the black box approach doesn't work, right?
Right.
Just then the technology will need to provide some guardrails. So it doesn't, like, for example, it doesn't matter, if the AI doesn't think it's risky, if this is coming from a high risk country, right? If this is coming from Russia, Iran, like you need those guardrails. So you need the ability to create those guardrails in the application. And these models have a mind of their own. Like they're smart, but with smartness comes, some independence, right? So you need constant monitoring. So these applications, in traditional tech, you tested it and then you rolled it out, and as long as you didn't change anything, you didn't need to monitor it. But with generative AI, you need to constantly monitor the results. So these are new, and then these are the 6 pillars of responsible AI published by Microsoft,
Right.
which anyone with reasonably high intelligence, they can have biases, there can be sort of privacy and security issues, etc. So there's some of these we've covered, like accountability, transparency,
Right.
but when you're looking at
these are all the traditional issues, or traditional I say now, that AI requires,
yeah,
and the risks of inclusiveness, fairness, obviously,
yes,
and security obviously is another area. Wow,
yeah.
that's
And most large organizations will have an AI team
yeah.
that'll basically test for these things. Now, as users of technology, I think you will need to focus on efficacy and audit trail, explainability, etc. But
Yeah.
inclusive fairness, etc. You probably have expertise in your every large company is now building expertise to evaluate these.
Right. Right. Well, let's take a moment if we can. We're getting close to the end here, and I do want to run a poll question for you. But just a couple of highlights about Certa and your company, and I like the slide on your enterprise proven platform.
Yeah, I mean, Certa has been used by multiple, sort of Fortune 100, Fortune 500 firms. The average number of third parties on the platform is 60,000. Our largest client has over 2 million. 130 integrations, complete accessibility, all the sort of compliance and GDPR needs that one would need. And third parties, as are global, right? So they speak different languages. So we support over 50 languages, and all the sort of data residency, etc. So it's just a like it's a robust platform that we put together. And now, we've put enterprise sort of ready generative AI in the platform that makes
But
it really.
going back to the average number of third parties, so you're saying one of the questions I often get is scalability, and this is a
Yep,
platform that you guys have built with, I mean, you're talking about up to 2 million third parties on one system, which is pretty amazing.
that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've been, unlike most companies, like most tech firms start with, SMBs, like smaller companies, and then graduate to enterprises.
Yeah.
We've been enterprise only from the beginning. So we
Wow.
only serve large enterprises, and that's why, we've sort of just built this for scalability and ability to personalize based on your specific sort of rules, your specific controls.
Yeah. Well, just a little bit of background, Jag, and if you can pass me back the presenter, because I'm
Of
going to
course.
run our poll question in a sec. But I found out about Certa about a year ago, and and uh, and okay, I'm assuming everybody can see that now. I found out about Certa a year ago. I had a guest on the podcast, and I've been working more with Jag and his team, and it's really pretty. It's worth. Everybody should take a look at it, and it's really worth catching up with it because there's nobody out there that's doing this right now, and I think it really is the future. So let me run a poll question, and everybody knows my usual poll question at the end, which is, if you'd like to talk to somebody from Jag or Jag's team, um, uh, please let us know. We've included a question there, Jag, for just, yes, no, or for those people who are, let's say, going to be looking at this 6 months from now to circle back at that point. But uh, Jag, I just wanted, and by the way, if anybody has any questions, we can take a moment just to do while we're doing the poll to deal with that. If anybody has any for Jag or for myself, but I am. This to me is really interesting, Jag, because it's I mean, I'm not the big tech person, but I can see how AI is going to revolutionize just this function, and I'm very familiar with this function because I've seen it done manually. I've seen it done with a automated tool of some sort, but now I see it as something that's going to permeate every aspect of the third-party life cycle and the third-party risk management, and sort of take it to a new sophisticated area. In particular, what I think is going to be really interesting is as you develop or as AI develops monitoring techniques, getting access to data and then looking for anomalies for follow-up, monitoring purposes on risk. Is that where you see this going eventually?
Yeah, I mean, I think humans will mainly work on in a few years, let's say 3 years, and designing the programs, making sure that all the controls are in place properly, and then monitoring the output, mainly of AI bots is the way I see it going. Um, and maybe some other junior, humans, which is sort of the status quo today. But I think a lot of that input that you're monitoring will come from AI bots.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Well, look, Jag, we actually ended on time, showing you a lawyer and an engineer can actually do something together. That is correct. Usually lawyers get in the way. I want to thank you, Jag, for this. This has been just absolutely terrific. I want to encourage people to reach out to Jag and his team. They're just incredibly responsive, very helpful. And those who indicated that they wanted to be contacted, Certa will get to you. And also, just a reminder, If you want a set of the slides, we'll send them to you just at mvolkov@volkovlaw.com. Just send us an email. And I apologize that I didn't get them uploaded before. But Jag, thank you again. And we hope to have you back. I mean, I'd love to have you come back at some point and sort of refresh this, if you know what I mean, this presentation.
Yeah, for sure. Michael, this was fun. Thanks so much for having me. Appreciate it.
Okay. Well, thanks everybody, and thank you, Jag, again. And thanks everybody. Have a great day, and we'll be in touch.
Thank you.